pretty terrible year overall with a few exceptions in it. One of those exceptions was how well PlayStation did. April saw the release of Insomniac's Ratchet & Clank game based on the movie based on the game. Even though the movie wasn't really that great, the game was fantastic. May then saw the release of Uncharted 4: Thief's End, which was a fantastic send-off for Nathan Drake in more ways than one. Then later in the fall, we got PSVR, and while that doesn't really interest me at all, I've heard some really good things about it. Oh, and then there's that, but we won't really talk about that. So Sony is really on top so far this console generation, and I don't think they're going to move. And the evidence I have for this is a little game called Horizon Zero Dawn. Developed by the team behind the Killzone games, Guerrilla has taken their first swing at something besides shooting people with glowing red eyes. For any development team working on a new IP, different from what they're used to, there are bound to be some problems. Surprisingly, there are very few problems with Horizon. It's an amazing game. The gameplay is fun, the story is interesting, and it's beautiful. So, let's get into it. Horizon Zero Dawn is set in the post-apocalypse. This isn't your run-of-the-mill zombies overran the earth type apocalypse. It's not even set directly after the event like The Last of Us is. This is something like 1,000 years after everything went down. Humanity was almost eradicated from planet Earth and we're finally making a comeback. But we're not back to our full glory. Humanity is living in tribe cultures, with culture divides being a big problem in the society. Because of these factors, humans aren't the alpha predator anymore. We've been lowered on the food chain by a group of feral machines. They look like giant lions, crabs, T-Rexes, alligators, and other varied assortment of dangerous creatures. Where did they come from? Who knows? They're there, and that's the problem our main character has to figure out. Players control Aloy, a 19-year-old woman of the Nora tribe. This is one of the only few complaints I have with the game. Aloy's name. It's so obvious that it's a play on the word alloy, which goes hand in hand with metal and machines. Get it? Her name is like Alloy, but because there's robots everywhere. Jokes! It's not really that big of a problem, but the name could be better. Aloy realizes that she's different than the rest of her tribe and sets out to understand why she's an outcast. Using her smart device scavenged from ruins called a Focus, Aloy can solve mysteries like Batman and save people from robots with all manner of weapons. Since this game has a tribal setting, guns like those we have today are extremely rare. So instead, Aloy is equipped with a bow and arrow. This might seem like it'll do diddly squat against giant robot creatures, but you'd be surprised. Only certain machines are equipped with tank quality armor, so smaller machines should be easy to take care of with just a few simple arrows. As you progress in the game, you get the opportunity to buy and equip more powerful bows and other weapons, such as the Tripcaster, which can lay down tripwires packed with electric spikes or explosives. These tools will help you bag bigger and badder machines as you traverse the large open world. If certain machines lose parts, you can use them to hit back at the machines with a taste of their own medicine. The combat is really fun, but has a few weird drawbacks. It's thrilling to tuck and roll out of the way of a stampeding broadhead or dodge a pecking stormbird, but the controls don't always make it easy, especially in the early hours of the game. First off, when you first take control of the game, you're Aloy when she's 6. So the movement feels very clunky since 6-year-olds don't exactly walk the best yet. At first, I was worried the entire game would play like this, but thankfully it's just like that to simulate the you're playing as the little kid experience. When you take control of grown-up Aloy, the game feels much better, with the exception of some of the controls. To dodge and roll out of the way of an attacking machine, you press circle. That isn't too much of a surprise. Circle has been the go-to button for crouching and dodging for a while. However, crouching is square. Square! What is this, a game from the PlayStation 2 era? Games don't use square for crouch. Having square being mapped to crouch means that other functions have to go to other places too. To activate your focus, you press R3, which feels like it should be more of an R1 feature. Then you pull up your weapon wheel. You press R1, which that feels something more like it should be an R3 or triangle. This wouldn't be such a bad thing if you could custom map your buttons, but you can't. You're stuck with what the game gives you. Oh well, you do get used to it after the first couple hours. I also want to point out that these are nitpicky personal preference things. They're only a problem with the game if you allow them to be. For the first 4 to 6 hours, the player is confined to the Nora territory. Here, you'll learn the basics of how the game works and how to best tackle missions. After that, you'll move on to the massive open world. In this world are several different regions. The Nora region is basically a snowy mountain with some plains attached to it. And the Karja region lies in the almost oasis-like jungle next to a desert. With the Byzantine Empire-esque Karja, the main course of the story really opens up. New friends and enemies will be made in an epic main story quest set to a fantastic musical score. For the side quests, all the typical quests you'd expect in an RPG are there. It's the quests where things aren't as good. Now, the quests themselves and the voice acting is fine, but Horizon does suffer from the same problem many RPGs suffer from, and that's close-up character animations. Many times the lip syncing doesn't match up and the eyes will sometimes move like the head is moving upward, but only the eyes will move. In the long term, these aren't really big problems. The cutscenes from the rest of the game are animated well and are lifelike, so the odd animations here and there are really more a moment of levity in an otherwise tense game. Occasionally there will be a climbing section that feels straight out of Assassin's Creed or an Arkham Asylum type detective quest to add different aspects to the game. Among the different things to do are overriding tall necks, a type of machine that acts as a giant radar scan that will survey an entire area and look at things on the map. 4 different tall necks are located throughout the map and provide the easiest way to survey the entire map. There are also areas known as cauldrons. These are areas that send you deep into the earth where robots are manufactured. Here you can learn how to hack into machines and use them to your advantage. There are many collectibles throughout the world, like ancient cups and flowers and other things like that. There are also hunting grounds that you can access to train your skills in hunting machines. With all that stuff going on in the game, it often gets lost on me how pretty the game is. It's a gorgeous game. I've heard people say that it looks better than Uncharted 4, and having played it on a day one PS4 on a 4K TV, I can say, no, it does not look better than Uncharted 4. What Naughty Dog did with Uncharted and the graphics in that game will probably not be achieved again until The Last of Us Part 2 comes out in like 4 years. Horizon looks really pretty, but it's not Uncharted pretty. Sorry. But it does look really good. And with the graphics in the game, it comes with a built-in photo mode. Both Infamous Second Son and Uncharted 4 had photo modes in them. I activated them maybe a total of 1 time and then went on my way playing the game. In Horizon though, I used the photo mode several times. I don't really know what it is about the game because the photo mode isn't really that different from previous photo modes, but I had a blast using it. It's really easy to move the camera around to take great pictures with all the features of a real camera. The photo mode makes it quick and easy to create great looking screenshots. Overall, the game is spectacular. The story is interesting and exciting, and the gameplay is really, really fun. Besides the little technical hiccups that are found in almost any RPG, the game runs flawlessly. And with all the hours I've already put into it, I still want to play it more. So, what's the best deal on this fantastic PlayStation exclusive? Well, concerning all the time that you're going to put into it just with the story missions alone, I'd say this game is worth the full $60 it's being asked for at digital stores and retail. So, if you're looking for a game that has robots in a tribal setting, then go ahead and give this one a look, because it's sure better than Bionicle Generation 2. Yeah, sorry, I went there.